Hi, this is Gary with MacMost Now. Today's episode, let's take a look at the new QuickTime 10 in Snow Leopard. So one of the big new features in Snow Leopard is QuickTime 10 spelled with an X. Now, this is a big jump over QuickTime 7, the previous version. They skipped right over 8 and 9. Let's get to the bottom of what QuickTime 10 is, and maybe it'll reveal why they went with this unusual name. So QuickTime 10, just like QuickTime 7, is basically a video player. Here it is with a video that I took with my iPhone open, and you can see it looks a lot different than the QuickTime 7 video player. It has this black bar at the top, and it's masking some of the video you can see just behind it, which makes the video look more widescreen than it really is. At the bottom, you've got this area here that has all the controls in it, instead of the controls actually being below the video at the bottom. The controls work pretty much as you would expect. You can play, rewind, fast forward. You can drag along the bottom here to go to where you want. You can use the arrow keys to advance in small bits. You can change the volume. Over here you've got a way to change to full screen for the video, and here you've got a way to go ahead and immediately put this video into iTunes, share it with MobileMe, share it with YouTube, or trim. Now, trimming is one of the big new features here in QuickTime 10. It's something that usually was reserved for QuickTime Pro users in previous versions. So you can go basically to Edit, Trim, or use that button I showed earlier, and you get this little timeline here at the bottom. You can drag the left and right sides to whatever you want, and then click the Trim button to trim it. There's a couple neat little things that you can do. For instance, instead of seeing the little thumbnails at the bottom, you can hold the Option key down and it shows you the waveform at the bottom. So if you have somebody talking, you can see clearly where they start talking and where they stop talking, and trim easily like that. Also, you've got the ability to select all or select all excluding silence. So what that does is basically try to figure out where people are talking and where they're not, and it excludes the beginning to the end where it's just quiet. It doesn't work too well in a video like this where there's nobody speaking, but it does work in a video where there's voice. So the other feature that QuickTime 10 has that QuickTime 7 didn't unless you had the Pro version was the ability to export. You can save as, and you can just save normally, but you can also export it to cell phone, which is the 3GP format, the iPhone, which is an M4V format, specifically formatted for the iPhone, and then one for the iPod, and then one that's 480p, in other words 480 pixels tall, regardless of the size of the video that you're looking at now. So you have these options here. You also have the Save for Web options. There's more here. You can actually export as a group all of those different things. In addition to that, it will also save out a sample HTML file and a reference movie. So you can basically upload some HTML with the reference movie, and then the video will look different depending upon somebody's browsing, say with Safari on their Mac versus Safari on the iPhone. So it's a handy little quick way to publish something to any website if you just want to quickly publish a video. Nothing you would use as a professional, but for just posting up quick family videos, it's a great way to quickly do it. Now there are more export options. You can also share. Go to iTunes, go to MobileMe Gallery, or go to YouTube. Of course, YouTube is asking you for ID and password, MobileMe Gallery doing the same, and iTunes basically just throws the video over into your iTunes library. You've got some options. Here you can see that I only can go and take this one down to iPhone and iPod size, since that's the original size. I can't go up to Apple TV, it would need to have to be a higher resolution, and computer even a higher resolution than that. But what I haven't told you is what is missing from QuickTime 10. There's several features that were in many previous versions of QuickTime that are now gone. The main one, Quicktime Vr. That's virtual reality panoramas. These are pretty standard and can be seen all over the internet, but they don't work in QuickTime 10. Also, playing back MIDI music doesn't work, and that's worked for many versions of QuickTime. And QuickTime Interactive Movies, where people have added bits of programming into QuickTime movies to give them interactions, little buttons, things like that. That doesn't work in QuickTime 10 either. QuickTime 10 is much more strictly a plain video playback environment. Now, when you install Snow Leopard, you actually keep QuickTime 7 on your machine. And even if you're doing a clean install, you can get QuickTime 7 as an optional install. It actually moves from the applications to the utilities folders, but it's still there. And if you have a Pro license, you can still use it. So you still have all the functionality of QuickTime 7 in QuickTime 7. But QuickTime 10 itself is basically just a video player with a couple little editing tweaks. So QuickTime 10 is really a whole different beast from QuickTime 7. I can only theorize that maybe Apple has done something here to be able to make QuickTime more compatible with more devices. Say the iPhone and iPod Touch, maybe future devices Apple comes out with, Apple TV, things like that. Now in my tests, QuickTime 10 and QuickTime 7 work together perfectly. For instance, if you go to a web page and it's got a QuickTime VR on it, it just works. If you look at it closely, it's actually using QuickTime 7 to play back to QuickTime VR. If you look at a piece of video, it's using QuickTime 10 to play that back. By dumping old technologies like QuickTime VR and interactives and MIDI, well, it allows them possibly to move forward with putting QuickTime on more platforms. So this does make QuickTime 10 that much less exciting. Instead of more features, we have less. And the few new features we have, we already had those in iMovie. So I'm not quite sure where Apple's going with this. Either there's going to be a QuickTime 10 Pro at some point, or the plan is to split QuickTime Pro versions off of QuickTime 7 and have this QuickTime 10 be the standard QuickTime player. So only time will tell. Till now, we're good. We got both QuickTime 10 and QuickTime 7 on Snow Leopard, both working just fine. Till next time, this is Gary Rosenzweig with MacMost Now.